Sonic 4 Episode 3. As all of you know, this game doesn't actually exist, even though it was planned. It was just canceled really early on in the development process. Sega of Australia actually asked Christian Whitehead, the creator of the Sonic CD mobile port, to work on Sonic 4 Episode 3. Shortly after, however, Sega of Australia shut down, and I theorize that to be the main reason the game was never actually made. In this video, I will be going over what the game could have been, realistically, following the pattern they've been going with for episodes 1 and 2. I'll also be throwing in some of my own personal theories that are realistic enough to the point where they could happen. The first of those theories is that Knuckles, while being a crucial character to the story, would not have been playable in-game. The reason I say this is because assuming the scrapped cutscene from the end of Sonic 4 Episode 2 would have led into Episode 3, Sonic 4 Episode 2 would have ended with Knuckles getting duped by Eggman again, therefore rendering him a villain in Sonic 4 Episode 3. We would have probably gotten a Knuckles boss fight here and there, and I would assume that Tails would still be the tag-along character for Sonic. Even if they did take that route with the story, it could be possible that you could do the Episode 2 acts as Knuckles, the same way they let you play the Episode 1 acts as Metal Sonic in Episode Metal. I think it's safe to say the first zone of the game would have been a rehash of Angel Island. In the Sonic 4 Episode 1 map, you can see off to the side some canyons that kind of look like Oil Desert, and what do you know? Oil Desert is on the left side of the map in Sonic 4 Episode 2. On the right side of the map in Sonic 4 Episode 2, you can see some jungle just barely off screen, and it reminds me of Angel Island Zone. Enough to the point where I think the opening of Sonic 4 Episode 3 would have been similar to the opening of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, where Sonic goes super and runs into the island, and Knuckles gets the emeralds from him and runs away. I can also see them rehashing Hydrocity and Marble Garden Zone, and maybe Stardust Speedway. The reason I say Stardust Speedway is because in Sonic 4 Episode 2, they have those Stardust Speedway assets they use for the Metal Sonic intro cutscene, and I don't think they'd let those go to waste. So maybe they'd reskin them a bit and reuse them for a Stardust Speedway-like stage. One thing I can almost guarantee is the final zone before the Death Egg Mark II would have been some kind of reskin of Launch Base with a Big Arms lookalike as the boss, because that zone and that boss were just so iconic. In the same way they remade Wing Fortress in Sonic 4 Episode 2, I feel like they'd do the same thing with Launch Base in Sonic 4 Episode 3. One theory I had about Death Egg Mark II in Sonic 4 Episode 3 is that it would be a full zone like the Death Egg was in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and then the final boss for the Death Egg Mark II would be like Doomsday Zone from Sonic and Knuckles. All in all, I think they would have let a little more creativity out during Episode 3, because this was supposed to be the last episode of the trilogy, so you can kind of understand why they'd want to put so much into the game. Which could be another reason the game was canceled, because they had Mania to deal with, and maybe they didn't want to deal with a high, ambitious title like Sonic 4 Episode 3, so they just canceled it to make Sonic Mania the game it was. Another thing it would explain is how Christian Whitehead couldn't work on Sonic 4 Episode 3 because he had his hands tied with Mania. Anyways, that's enough Sonic 4 Episode 3 yapping out of me. I'm gonna go edit the Sonic 4 Episode 2 video. See you guys later.